Well, having completed the about section, now we can move on to the client section. And so as usual, we are going to have a comment here, and we can call it client section. And let me just duplicate that as usual here to just say that that section will be ending at that point. So the first thing that we want to do is to create a tag. We can call it section, and within that we're going to have the main div. In fact, that is going to have a class of container. Remember we said that when you give it a class of container, you're giving it a width of 100%. So that's basically what we are doing there. So below that, now what we want to do is we want to have this clients section. So the client section there, so that we're going to create a container for it, and within that, now the first thing will be the client, so that will be in H2. In fact, we can just call it clients, and below that, now we're going just to have some basic information, in which case we can have it in a paragraph tag. And I'm just going to write some dummy okay, so that should be enough. So just to preview that, if I just scroll down, yeah, in fact you can just see it over here. So we're just going to have that styled later. Let's just deal with the markup first, and then we're going to have the utility classes added later, because I usually find that a bit interesting when you're adding the classes and then everything is changing in real time. So we can now have the list of the information down here. So basically, in that case, I'm talking about this section here plus the image. So we are creating a container for that. So we'll have a container, and for this, it's going to be having a class of grid, because we want to have the information in 2 columns, but we're going to come to that later. For now, let's first of all, as we have said, just deal with the markup. So we're going to create several containers here, just to help us to style the information and organize it the way we want. So we're going to have another shout container there, another one still, and another one, and so lastly, now we are going to have the container that is going to house this specific SVG that we are having here, this one. So so inside here, it's where we are going to have the SVG plus this information that we have here. So let me just head on to Halo icons and try to get that. So we're just going to have it within that container, and that's about it for that. In fact, it's just going to house that specific SVG, because we want to style it in a specific way. As you can see, this one is styled, we have it styled this way. So to help us style it that way, without affecting the rest of the information. We're just going to have it in its own separate container. And so we are now going to have the rest of the information in again a separate container, just to help us again style it differently. And here we're going to have a h4. So this is where we are going to have the phrase happy clients. Sorry. And again, next to that, we also need to have the value or the number of happy clients that we are having. So we're going to have that in a span. So I'm just going to say span, and for now I'm just going to write 1, which is a static number, but as I said, this information will be coming from the database, so we'll be able to have that being dynamic. So it will be in real time based on how many happy clients we have at a given time. So below that, we're going to have a p tag, a paragraph tag. So this is now going to house the specific description of that. So I'm going to have that again here typed real quick. So okay, so that is done. And so now we are going to have that being repeated to the other information that we need. So for example, we need the the project completed and the learning or returning clients rather. So we're just going to duplicate that specific container. So just a minute as I try to get the specific one. It should be this one. So in fact, let me just hide it that way and just duplicate it 3 times. And so what we just be doing is to change the information. So like now, for example, this one we're going to change the icon to a video. So let me just try to search for the video here, this one. So we'll replace this. I'm just using this as a sample icon. Of course, you can use your own, and that represents whatever you want. Yeah, so that one should be okay there. So we can also change the information. So this should be projected. So in fact, I'm just going to copy and paste just to save some time. And so here I'm just going to have a dummy number and also grab this and now finally we have this. Let me stock of a document just grab that one and have it here. Just try to put it in order, just so that it's a bit organized, and so we can come back and copy this information here. So we should have this placed inside here. And so we can also change the dummy number here to be, say, 6. Grab this, have it there. Alright, so that is done. So now finally we are going to have the image. So we need to have that. Let me just count from down here the number of divs that we need to leave below the image. So it should be around here, because if I show you, this is the div, this is the one that is going to have the first column. In fact, just to make things easier to understand, we can hide it like that. And we can have a comment here and call it first column, and now we are having the second down here. So this should be second. So in the second here, we're just going to have an image. And I'm hoping that we do have some images here, but let me first of all have that image. And in fact, yeah, we can just have it like that. Okay, so what I've just done off the camera is to have this image in my folder that is at the portfolio tutorial. If I go to images, we need to have that image there. Maybe I have saved it in the long folder or something. Let me just try to grab it here just one more time. So save image as, and this one should go not to that. Go back again. Okay, so we do have it here, but that's not the folder where we want. So let me try to get back to should be here. So I just open the images and I can save it as image underscore client and save it there. So now we can be able to get it here. So should be able to get to images very easily. I don't know why we are unable to do that, because we should be able to see source. Or we need to get outside of the source so that we can be able to get to images. I get it now, so just a second as I put that in order. So get out of that, go to images and pick the current image. Okay, so that one is over there. Okay, so now what is now remaining is to add the utility classes. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're just going to give this an ID of clients, that is for the ease of navigation. This one we had already given a class of container. We said that should make it to have a width of 100%, but also we needed to have or a maximum width which should be XL or max XL. So that again just gives us a max width of 36 rem, which is 576 pixels. So we should also have it with a padding and a space right left of let's talk about 12. On large devices the padding right and left should be 8. On large devices again the max width should be 7XL. So as you can see, that is taking some shape there. So for the clients, the text size should be 7XL. The font should be bold. We have the text at the center. On small devices we want the text to be 5XL. Okay, so that's working as we expect. We can now move on to the paragraph. Again, a max width of 3XL. It should be aligned at the center, so margin right and left auto, margin top should be 4. The text should be extra large, and we should have it at the center. Okay, nice. So we are done with that. Now we can style the information below here. So that is the image and this information that we have in here. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to say that on small devices we should have this in one grid or one column, but on small or bigger devices we first of all have the gap being 8. That's the space between the first and the second column. That is because on large devices we should have at least 2 columns. So grid calls 2, and on the same breakpoint, that is large, we should have the items being at the center. And that's all that we need for that. So at this specific breakpoint we have 1 column, but we hope that when we have these at a bigger breakpoint the columns will be 2, as you can see. So that's working very fine as we expect. So far so good. And so now let's just show this so that we can now start to style it. So for that one we're going to leave it without any utility class. So we're going to come to the second one. So basically we are just styling this information here so that we have it appear like this. So first of all we will just deal with the main container. So class, and we're going to say that the margin top should be 4, and space right top and bottom, sorry, space space Y, that's top and bottom, should be 12. Right, so that is this container here, the space here should be 12. Oh sorry, this one should be space. Alright, so now that should be in a low, so it should flex in a low. And now we can start styling the content that is going to house the SVG, so this one here. So we will have this with a class of okay, so in fact we should have this SVG again inside another container. Well, so the next thing that we want to do is to have the items justified center. So we're just going to say justify center. And we're going to have a width of 12 and a height of 12, and it should be allowed at MD, and the BG should be orange. Okay, so there's a typo here. Alright, so that is okay. And now the next thing that we want to do is to style the rest of the information here, because we also want some space between these two. So to achieve that, we're going to have a margin left of 4, and that's working fine. So we can now head on to the H1. So this one is going to take the following utility classes. First of all is text LG, and we should also have the font being medium, and we should also have it with reading. Okay, so that being done, therefore we can move on to the paragraph tag. Again, we style it by just having it with a margin top of 2. Let's go back to the H1, and we also want to style the span. Just a minute. And for this one, we're just going to have it with the text being 2XL. For the font to be bold, and also for the text it will be orange. So we give it amber 400. Yeah, just like that. And so now we are done with that, and we're going to repeat the same to the rest. So that is the project completed and the returning clients. So here we just are going to make the items appear in a row. Of course, just add the flex utility class, and here we also going to have it with a flex shrink of 0. Alright, so as you can see, this SVG icon and the content here appears in a column, but we need them to be in a row like we're having here. So we need to be able to see that, and I think we have an issue with this container. We should not be closed down here. Just a minute, it should not be closed down here. Instead, we should have it just closed just below the SVG right there. So let me put things in order here a little bit, like that. Yeah, so that should be the container there, and as you can now see, they appear in a row. And so now we can continue to just style it. So as usual, we have it flex items center, and justify center, and the width should be 12, the height should be 12 as well, rounded MD, and with the BG of orange. Alright, so to fix the spacing there, we just come in here, and we are having this with a margin left of 4. Right, so you can now see that we have some we have no space between this and that, so that also needs to be fixed. And what we are going to do is we are going to add this specific container that we have here for the first component here, that will help us to have it with a margin top of 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to this, and I'm going to just get rid of it, and I'm going to have these within a container that is going to have a margin top of 4. Sorry, that should be there. And so now we should have this inside there. Just a minute. So we should have this information right there, and as you can see now, automatically that gives it that padding that is margin top of 4. And we can also come and talk of the space y of 12. And so this will just help when it comes to Okay, so that seems not to work as I expected. Just a minute, as we also try to fix the same. I'm getting rid of that container that I've added, and instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to let me add the class here, like class margin top of 2. Yeah, that's fine. Let's also now come try to style this, and this one should have text being large, font being medium, and reading, and we can also add the margin top here. Let's say margin top of 2. Yeah, and that's better. Let's see on big screens how that looks like. Yeah, it's very okay. So we can now style the span here. So we give it a class, and should have a text of 2XL, and the text should be amber 400. And also the font should be bold. Alright, so that's fine. So we can now move on to the last one here. So as usual, this one will have a class of flex. So here, as you've seen, we are going to have this moving to the top, that is allowed here, so that way now that container is covering the SVG. Right, so so this one will have a class of flex shrink 0. These ones will also flex in a low. Items center, justify a center, the width should be 12, the height should be 12, and should also be allowed MD. The BG should be amber 400. Yeah, that's it. So now here we just come and have it with a class of ML4 for the spacing here, and for the H1 here, we should have the text being large and the font being medium, that is medium, reading, and also for the span here, we're going to have it with text to XL as usual. So text to XL, the font being bold, and the text is amber 400. That's the color. Very nice, very nice, very nice. For the H1 here, we can also give it a margin top of 4 like we did with the previous one, just so that we have some space in between this and that. Let's see the finished. Yeah, that's how it looks like, and yeah, so far so good. And now finally for the clients, we can go to the image and some few utility classes. So for the margin left and right, we should have it with auto. It should be allowed MD, or rather let's have it with LG. You should also have a shadow LG as well. Yeah, and that's about it. So we should also come and style that whole container now, because that was only the image. So we can have it with a margin top of 10, and on large screens the margin top should be 0. Yeah, so we don't want to have that margin top on these large screens, because this image will tend to drop down here. But now when we get to small screens like that, we actually need that space so that this one doesn't touch the text, the image doesn't touch the text. So as you can see now, that's looking fine. So we can now move on to the next section, which is services. So we can say services section, and so we just need to so the next section will be services. So we just have that comment there as usual. I duplicate that, and here we say these were the ads. And first of all, as usual, we're just going to have the markup, and then later on we'll have the utility classes. So as usual, to enable us in styling, we're going to have several containers. So these will be my services. And below that, we're just going to have a paragraph tag. And let me just pick the text from the finished project here, just some dummy text like so. Oh, sorry. let me do that one more time. Right, so that's fine. Then after that, just below the paragraph tag, we're going to have a grid. So we're going to have another container. So it is within this container that we're going to have the several components that we need, because let me just show you what we need. So we need this component and also this. So we want to have them in a grid so that it can be flexible. Like you can see in this case, when we're on a small device, the several cards are appearing in one column, but when we stretch to a bigger column, that goes to 2 columns, and so on and so forth. So we'll be having that working in a minute. So we can now start working on the card, in fact. So I'm going to have let me have a comment here for better understanding. So we can say card. So we're going to create a container for it. And so here we need to have the name. So it will be in h1. So in this case it will be the name of the service. So like for example, here we are having app design. So and just below that we're going to have the pricing. So we'll create another container, and this one is going to have the following information. And we're going to have yet another container here that's going to have the price. So we'll have several of these cards. So maybe I duplicate these once we add the utility classes. But for now we are done with the markup, and so we can come and add the utility classes. So we'll start with the BG color being glare 100, and it should have a mean height of screen, and the padding should be 4. Moving on to the next one, we should have it with a width of 100%. So we'll say container. The margin right and left should be auto, and we should also have the margin top being 12 and the margin bottom being 20. Oh, sorry, here we have a typo. This one should be BG. Alright, so now we go to the my services, that is heading 1, and so this one we're going to have it with a text size of 4XL. The font should be bold, and we should also have the text being glare 800, the text being at the center, and the margin bottom should be 8. Alright, so that's fine. So we can now move on to the paragraph tag. So we should have the text being glare 700, and the text should be Raj, and also we should have the text at the center with a margin bottom of 12. Alright, so now we can move on to the card, but before we move on to the card, we want to have them in a grid. So within this container that we have highlighted here, we're going to give it the following utility classes. So on a small device, we should only have one column, but on big devices, we should have the columns increase. So we're going to say grid calls 1. That's on a small device because we are creating these being a mobile first website, and on medium screens, that is MD, we should have the columns goes to 2 or increasing to 2. So on that breakpoint, we should have at least 2 columns, and the gap should be at least 8. Right now we might not be able to see that because we also don't have the card styled, but let's style the card, and we also try to have several cards, and what we've just done will start to make sense. So let's have it with a BG of white, being rounded MD, and it should also have a shadow of SM and a padding of 8. Okay, so now we can style the heading. So we will add the following utility classes. One is for the text size, which should be XL, the font weight, which should be bold, and the text color, which should be glare 800, and the margin bottom should be at least 4. Alright, so now for the price, just a minute, we need to have another container that is going to house these two. Forgot to add that, so this should be inside there like so. So that now here we have them flex in a row, we have them flex, that is, and then we should have the spacing between them being at 2 items center, plus also the padding left and right should be 4, while top and bottom should be at least 2, and the font should be bold. Alright. So we can now come to this text here. We style it a little bit by just having the text being medium. Alright, so now this one we can also come and style it by giving it text size of large, and for the color should be orange and should also be bold. That's the font weight. Alright, so that's the card itself. Like you can see in the finished project, like that. Oh, sorry, we also need to have some text. That should be allowed here, so we should have a paragraph tag, and we can just come and grab this text here and have it here. Yeah, so it should be looking like that. And so now what I can do is to duplicate that, so that at least we have several of them. So I come and grab that and duplicate it, so we have 2, and maybe we can also have 3, so that makes sense a little bit. And so when viewed on a small screen, they will appear in a column, one on top of each other, like that. But on big screens, then on that breakpoint, we're going to have the 2. Yeah, like you can see, it's very responsive, just because of this class that we have, these utility classes that we've added here. Alright, so that part is done there, so we can move on to the projects section. So again, we start with the markup. So here we're having a H1 that will have my projects. Below which we are going to have some description in a paragraph tag. So I'm just going to come and grab what we have in the finished product here, or project rather, so like that, and have it there. And then below that we're going to have the images appearing in a grid, but this time around we're not going to use a grid, but we're going to use columns. Let me just take you to Tailwind, and here we try to search for columns. Maybe we can pick this one. As you can see, this is what we want to achieve. So adding based on columns. So alright, so this utility class columns helps us to control the number of columns within Alright, so this is the utility class that we are going to use for this specific section, because we want to be adding columns Alright, so this is the utility class that we are going to use for this project section. So because we want to be able to add the information based on column count, so like the columns utility helps us to control the number of columns within an element. So when you say columns 1, you'll have 1 column. When you say columns 2, it will be 2, and so on and so forth. So now, for example, you can come and apply it like columns and then the number of columns that you need, and this one will set the number of columns that should be created for the content within an element. The column width will be automatically adjusted to accommodate that specific number. So you're going to have your information now looking like this. If you have a small image, it will be like this. If it a bigger one, it will be like this. So it will be adjusted based on the number of columns that you have indicated. So like, for example, you can talk of columns 3, and so you're going to have at least 3 columns, like we can see over here. And you can also add columns based on the column width, or you can be able to add based on the column width. In this case, we just use the columns and then the width of the columns. So this will set the ideal column width for the content within an element with the number of columns, that is the count, automatically adjusting to accommodate that value. So you can see in this case, they're saying this t-shirt scale is the same as the max width scale, with the addition of 2xs and the 3xs, since smaller columns may be desirable. So in that case, you're going to achieve something like this, and for you to be able to achieve something like this, you're just going to create your markup, and then you're going to have it with a class of columns 3xx, which will be the width. Alright, so having seen that, therefore, we can, as you can see with the finished project, this is what we have been able to achieve. Although we don't have lots of images here, we just have the 3 of these, but for us, we're going to, maybe for this project, we're going to have as many images as possible, so that you can be able to have a clear image of what's happening there. So you see on small screens, that's how it appears. But when you move it to that specific breakpoint, that's how that appears. So that's what we want to be able to achieve. And so we'll just come and create that container just below here. And this is where we are going to have the images, and it should be as simple as having the image tag here. And hope I have some several images here. Just a second. Okay, I need to get some images. Just give me a minute as I try to pull up some images here. Alright, so we have several images there, so we just need to get out of the source and then we go to images, and maybe we can have image 1 there. And so what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to duplicate this, then I'll be changing the image. So for example, this one can be 2, this one is 3, so we have 4 and 5. Right, so now the images are there, but now we need to style them. You can see they're disorganized, so let's just try to add some few utility classes to try and fix that mess. So first things first, we're going to have this with a padding of 5, and on small devices the padding should be 8. For my projects, we should have this with the text size being 4XL. For the font weight should be bold. For the color of the text, we should have it with gray 800. The text should be at least at the center with a margin bottom of 8. Okay, so we can style the paragraph. So when you look at it, yeah, we have the padding working very fine. So we just now need to fix the images, but before that, let's try to work on this text, the paragraph, and so we'll have it with a text color of gray 700. The text being large, also the text being centered, so center, and this one should be 12, margin bottom. Okay, so that's fine. So now it's the image, so we'll give it the following utility classes. On small devices, the columns should be 1, so we'd say columns 1. So appears 1 column, and for the gap between the images, we're going to have it with 5. And now for our first breakpoint, that is small, we're going to have the columns increases to 2, so 2, and on that breakpoint the gap should be 8. On medium screens, we should have the columns moved to from 2 to 3, so we'll say columns 3. And on large screens, the columns should move to 4. So let me see if I try to move it to that breakpoint. You can see the images are at least adjusting to that. So on this medium screen or in this at this breakpoint we have 3 columns, and then at that breakpoint we only have 1 column. Now we also need to fix the spacing a little bit, so I'm going to add the following utility classes. So just a minute. So I just want to add a margin top to these images. As you can see now, as you can see, we don't have any space between the images, and that's something that we need to have there. So to be able to do that, we're just going to add a margin top to the child, a margin top of at least 2 rem, or that is 2 pixels. And so how we are going to add that is we're going to have some curly brackets here, and we're going to have an ampersand, and we'll say greater than image and not. And so here we're going to take the first child, first child, and so we're going to say that the margin top should be 8. And as you can see, that gives it a margin top of 2 rem. Alright, looks like that's still not working. Yeah, and as you can see now, after refreshing, we have the spacing like that. And so now when we move it to a different breakpoint, like so, we have the images like that. When we move it to a different breakpoint, now we have the images looking like that. So all these spaces should be having some images. Let me try to have another image here. Let me see, we have up to 5, but we can also include 6. So let's increase this. And now you can see how the images are being adjusted based on the size of the image, and also based on the number of columns that I have indicated. So all these spaces should be filled with images. Based on the size, the images might be moved around, and that looks a bit cool and interesting. So that's the project section. It's complete. And so now we're going to go to the last, that is the contact section. And so lastly, we code the contact section. So I'm going to have a comment as usual here. I'm going to call that contact section, and this contact section is going to house the footer and also the contact form. So inside here I'm going to have a container. I'm going to call it a section, and within this section, as I've said, this is where you're going to have the footer and also the contact form. So therefore we're going to start with the contact. So I'm going to create a div that is going to lap all that. So I'm creating a div and also a child div, within which now in the child div I'm going to have a h1. So this h1 is meant to house the information contact me, and below that I'm going to have a paragraph tag that's just going to have some for now some dummy information. So just some information there, and then now after that we're done with that specific section. So that is completed. So now we're going to move on to the next part. This is where we're now going to have the contact form. So we're going to have again the container that is going to house that form, and so inside here now we're going to have the form. So this will be post method. So we're going to come back to the action later when we'll be working on the PHP. So now inside this we're going to have a div. This is just to help us in styling. So we're going to have several of such divs. So just to help us in styling this whole form that we're going to have here. So we'll also have one more div like so, and now it's inside this that we're going to have the input field and the label. So I'm going to talk about input. I should have the type text, and I should also come and talk of placeholder. This one should be having a name, so I'm going to write name. Below that, of course, as usual, we're going to have the label. Sorry, the label like that. This should be for the name. Should be for the name. And here we can also come and talk about name once again. Right, so having that, now we can just come and duplicate this because we want a similar component. This will be for the email and for the text alias. So in fact now this one we are going to change it to email. This one will be email, and also the placeholder should change to email as well. This one we're going to change because we don't want this to be a placeholder. Rather, we don't want it to be an input field. We want it to be a text area that's for our message. So we're just going to come and say text area. We don't want it to have this, as we are going to have some utility classes that are going to help us to determine the width and the height of our text area. So for this, the name should be message, and we're also going to change these placeholder as well, or rather we're going to have a placeholder that will just say message. So we have it here, placeholder message. So the last thing that you're going to have, of course, is the button. That's the button that one is to click to submit the message. So that one we're going to have it outside this div here. So here we're just going to have a div to lap that button, and then we're going to have the button. So just call it submit, and of course it should be of the type submit as well. So we say type submit. Right, so we are done with the form now. The only thing that is left is to just style it a little bit, just to ensure that we have the information appearing as we would like to have it there. And so now finally we're going to have the footer. So here I'm just going to have a comment and just call it footer. So here we are going to have another container or div that's going to lap all the information that we have for the footer. So here we're going to have the email. We're just going to have it within an anchor tag. So just going to have an anchor tag there, and then just going to have a dummy email address here. So maybe I can say ITSKILLS. Alright, so that being done, we can come and also have a paragraph tag here, within which we're just going to have maybe something like the address. Maybe we're just going to say 20. So maybe something like that. Yeah, and then now finally we're going to have the SVG icons. As you can see here, I have them prepared as social media SVG icons. And so how we are going to have that is down here we are going to have a span, and it's within this that we are going to have the SVG icons. So we'll start with Facebook here. Alright, so now having completed the markup, we can now start the styling. So we're going to start from the very first part of this section, so that is allowed here. And so the first thing that we're going to do is to add some utility classes to the section. So what I'm just going to do is to have a class, and I'm going to have it with a position of relative, and the BG I'm going to give it a gray 900. For the text it should be gray 400. As you can see, that takes effect immediately, and so now we can move on to the next container. And so this one again is going to have a utility class of container. This will give it a width of 100%, as you can see, width of 100%, and also for the margin left light, we're going to give it auto, so it should like adjust to the size or to the content that we have, so auto. And for the padding left and right, we're going to have 5. For the padding top bottom, we're going to have 24. All right, so that's very clear there. Hope so. And so now we're going to go to the next container here. So for this one, we want the margin bottom to be 12. It should flex, and the width should be full, and we should also rather this one should flex a call, like they should like appear in a column orientation or layout. And then we're going to have the items at the center. So that's how that looks like. Alright, so now we can style our H1 here. So for our H1, we're going to have it with a margin bottom of 4, and the size should be 2XL, and the font should be medium, sorry. And for the text color, we're going to give it white, and on small devices we should have the text being bigger, that is 3XL. Alright, now the paragraph tag, we can have it with a padding or margin light left of auto, text base, so that's a font size of 1 lem and a line height of 1.5 lem. We should also have it with a reading of relaxed. So that's just a line height of 1.625, and we should also have the width being that of 2 and 3. That's on large devices. Alright, so we're done with that very top part there. So now we can go to the form. And so the first thing that I'm going to do is to style this div that is lapping the form. So again, the margin light left should be auto. On the medium breakpoint, we're going to have the width being 2/3, and on large breakpoint, we're going to have it being a half. So 1/2. Alright, so that container is completed. So now we can go to the form, and we're going to start with the first div, that is the one that is within the form. And so we're going to have it with the following utility classes. So this just gives it a margin of negative 0.5 rem, and so we should have it flex, and not just flex, but it should also be flexed lap. So if there's no enough room, it should like move to the next line, it should be lapped. Alright, so now Alright, so now class. So this one, first of all, we are going to give it a width of half, and it should have a padding of 2. We're just going to style the first one, and then we're going to have the style copied to the rest of the input fields that we have. Then we're also going to have this one that's going to have position of relative. So so before we continue, I would like to talk about something. We call it the peer. I just want to go to the Tailwind CSS documentation so that I can just show you something maybe you are familiar with or you're not familiar with, and because we will be using it for this form, let me just talk about it at this specific point. So we call it the peer. So just a minute, look like I've lost it. So this one. So peer is a utility class that you can use in Tailwind CSS to just style, and in this case you'll be styling based on sibling states. So you'll be using the utility class peer and then a modifier. So like when you need to style an element based on the state of a sibling element, mark the sibling with the peer. Like what we'll be doing here, we're going to have the input field with the class peer, and then we're going to use the peer and a modifier to style the target element. So we'll be styling the target using a modifier. So like for example, in this case, they have the modifier invalid. So there is the peer, which is the utility class, and then there is the invalid, which is the modifier, and which is being used to style the target element. In this case, the target element is this input field where a person is required to enter an email address, and once they provide an invalid email address, this message will appear. So as a result of this utility class, this message is going to appear, which tells them that they have an invalid email address. And just so that you can have a clear understanding of that, you can say they have the utility class peer in the input field, like we are going to do, and then this message, which should appear if the email is invalid, is in a paragraph tag, and this is where they are having the invalid or the peer and the modifier. The modifier in this case being invalid, and then of course visible, so that now it can be visible, it can appear, because by default if the email address provided is valid, then this one should not appear. So that's what we are going to do here, because we want to achieve not like what we are having here, but we want to achieve something else. Maybe if I can try to get to the finished website here, we want to achieve something like this, so that when you click on the input field, this placeholder tends to like move outside, tends to move outside of the input field and just like eases out. So that's what we want to achieve, and we can be able to achieve that using the peer utility class. So let's just go ahead and try do that now. So here I'm just going to have the class here. We're going to have several classes. The first one, as usual, as I've mentioned, is the peer. So this is what we'll be targeting, so we need to have that class there, and then it should have a width of full. For the border, I'm just going to give it amber. Let me have it amber 700, and we should also, 700 is quite a lot. Let me have it as 400, and we should also have it with a BG of clear 800. For the opacity, we are going to have it with an opacity of 40. So I'll say opacity, I'll give it 40. For the padding top bottom should be 1, while light left should be 3. For the text, we're going to give it a base. That's just at the text size. For the spacing, we're going to give it a line height of 8, or reading of 8, while the color should be glare 100. And because we'll be playing aloud with the placeholder, here I'm just going to come and talk about placeholder, and I'm going to make it transparent, while the outline, of course, should be none. So when you click it, it should not have that outline. Then I'm going to add another utility class here. We're going to call it transition colors. And I'll have it with a duration of 200, and it should ease in and out. All right, so we're also going to talk about focus. So we will say focus BG glare, and here we're going to give it 900, and we're also going to have it with a focus ring of 2. And as you can see, what that basically does, as you can see here. So that is the properties of that specific class, and we're also going to have yet another focus, and this one is going to have a background color. So we'll say ring indigo, and this one we're going to give it 900. So that's the utility class that we are adding there, basically a color. And then we're done with that. So that's how the placeholder should be styled. As you can see here, and so now maybe we're going to fix this button maybe later. I don't know whether it should be there, but let's continue adding the rest of the classes. So let's go to the arable, and the first class that we are going to give it is absolute. So that's the position. That's going to have the name moving to the end there, and we should have it with a left of 3. So that moves the name now somewhere at the placeholder, if I can say that, and then I can have it with a top of 6, and we should have it with a BG of transparent, and we should also have the text size being SM, a reading of 7. The text should be indigo. This one should be indigo 500. Then we'll have a transition of all, and now we're going to start to have the peer modifiers. So the first peer modifier we're going to have is for the placeholder. Right now you may notice that the placeholder is not there. So if I say placeholder shown, and then I have it with a colon, and then I say left 3, and then I'm going to have yet another modifier or peer modifier, placeholder, and this one should be shown, and I'm going to have this with a top, so top of 2. And I'm also going to have it with a peer modifier of placeholder again, shown, and this one should be for the background, which we are going to give it a glare 900. So now you can see is the name or the placeholder now is visible, because now we have it with a background color or other color that is making it to be visible. And then now we're going to have yet another peer modifier. So we say peer placeholder, and shown, and this one should be for the text size, which should be base. So you can see now the background color has taken effect. So the other one is going to be peer placeholder shown. This one will be for the text color, so we'll give it a glare 500. And now we're going to start with the focus. That was for the placeholder, because now once we click, nothing is happening. So let's now focus on when you click it, what should happen. So we're going to start with peer focus, and so this one should be left of 3, peer focus of top of negative 6. So as you can see, that's what we want to achieve. Once you click on it, it just gets out of the nini. So we're having it with this color that you can see here, although it's different from this because when it comes on top here, it needs to find this background that is here. So that's why we're having it like that, so it appears like that, and someone can be able to work on be able to type whatever they want there. And then we are now going to focus on the text. So peer focus text size, so it should be small, and we should also focus on the text color. So we'll say peer focus and here we're just going to say text amber 500. So once you click on it, that's how it behaves. And so you can type whatever it is that you want. Let me see the finished product here. What should have? Yeah, we are missing a few things because this outline should also have that. I don't know why. Could be this. So focus ring indigo 900 focus ring true. Oh, sorry, it's here. Oh, not yet. Yeah, so something like that. Yeah. I also tend to think that should be rounded. I missed something to do with rounded, so we can have it with just rounded somewhere. Let me just say rounded. Oops, rounded like that. Yeah, so it should be like that. Nice. So because as you can see, it's a lot of classes that we've added there. We're just going to duplicate those classes or just copy those classes and have them in the other input fields. So like I'm going to copy that, and we're going to have it here, and I'm going to copy the other one. So this one for this label, like so. Copy that, and that's what we are going to have for the label here. Yeah, hey, we have a very big issue there. So let's try to fix the positioning of this, because all this should be at the center. Let's try and see where we lost that. Yeah, so we have the issue being around here, because this div I have it closed here, but it should not be closed there. We have it closed in the long place, and that's why the styling is not working. So all of this should be here, yeah, like that. And so that also applies to this one. So here we should have another div that is at least going to lap all of this. So I'm just going to cut that and just have it as a div, and so inside that, that's where I'm going to have that information. And the same case applies to the text area here. Just get rid of it and have it within a div like that. And so let me just try and say, because yeah yeah, we have it correct, so that way now we can come and grab this class and so have it here. And also come and grab this one for the position and come and have it there. And that should fix that issue, so that now the email is like that and the name is like that. And so now we can have the text area styled. That's the only field that we have remaining there. So for the label, it will be the same, the class will be the same. So we're just going to grab the class for the input field, and we're going to have it in the text area here, the label, like that. And as you can see, nothing is happening right now because we don't have the peer in the target. So for example, now if I come here and add the class and say, for example, I add the peer, now I have a target somehow. And so yeah, but the focus and everything is not working so far, including the placeholder. So what I'm just going to do here is I'm going to give these a height of 32 and a width of full. So I'm expecting that that should cover the whole of this area here, unless oh sorry, because we have not yet defined the utility classes for the lapping div or container. So let's have it with a margin top of 4 and a width of full. Yeah, so right now it should work. Yes, and so we should also have it with a padding of 2. Okay, so now we should also have these with a position of relative, oh sorry, yeah, and now you can see it's starting to take effect. It's even working. So we just need now to hide this text area or this placeholder inside there by just making it transparent. So width of full, then we don't want to have this resizing thing for the placeholder, this one here. So I'm just going to say resize none. Let's also have it loaded a little bit, and I think now the rest of the classes should just be like the ones that we have for the input field. So with that, I'm just going to copy that, and that should look like that. And so when we click on that, that's how that behaves. And as you can see, that's working as we would expect, just like what we have in the final product here. So yeah, at least it's working to some extent. Alright, so now we can style the rest of the information that we have here. That's the button. So we'll give it a width of full and a padding of 2. For the button, we'll give it the following utility classes, just so that it looks nice. So margin of outer, I should flex, should be loaded, it should have a border of 0. For the BG, we're going to have it with amber 400. PY of 2, PX of 8. Text should be large, white in color. On hover, we should have it with a BG of amber 600 and a focus of outline none. Alright, so something is not live because the PX of 8, that's not working. So it looks like we need to just a minute as I try to see. Need to learn these again if I'm not wrong. Let me try and learn it and see if it is going to fix that issue of that button, because I think I tend to think it's not like processing or creating all the classes, processing all the classes as we would expect. Let me have that. Yeah, and as you can see, after rebuilding, that is working fine. So sometimes the classes, you can also see the color that I had was also not working, but now it's working as I have it over there. So yeah, sometimes the rebuilding could maybe delay, and so the classes are not fully created. So now finally, let me just close that, because now we don't need that as of now. So we can now finish with the folder, just style the footer down here. Alright, so as you can see now, we have the border there, the padding, and the text being at the center, which is not really working as of now, because maybe we need to have it with flex or something. But let's first of all style the rest of the information, and then we are going to come back to that. If it's not working, we'll fix it. Let's give this a text of indigo 400, and yeah, that's it. Yeah, that was processed. It's at the center. And we should also style the P here. So this one we are talking of the MY of 5 and a reading of normal. Yeah, and that's it. For these, they need to be in a row, so we're going to have them with inline flex. Should appear in a row like that, and yeah, that's it. So the rest is just margin light. So let's just give them a margin light of, maybe we can fix the height. Let's see how that is going to look like. Yeah, not bad. So I'm going to go with that. And we should also have it with, as I've said, the margin light. So where is this class? No class, no class. Oh. Yeah, and that's it. So we're done with the portfolio, just like that. And so now when we look at the whole thing, now it looks like that. So that is the footer there, the projects, we have the my services, we have the clients, we have the about, and we have the portfolio or the hero section. So these ones, this should be taking us to those specific areas. So like, let me just have it like that, so that when you click on a specific link, you're taken to that specific section as you'd expect. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to go to the nav here, and I'll start with the home. So this one here, I'm just going to give it an ID. Sorry, should be outside here. An ID of home, and that should now apply to the list. So for example, I can copy the whole of that and just hold Alt and click all of this, paste that, and now what I'm going to do is to just change this to clients. This one should be about sorry, the services. Here we should have projects, and finally we should have contact. And so now I'm going to have that now to these specific sections. So like for example, I can take home and search it here, home, and all other. Let me see, looks like I don't have it that way. Yeah, home, it's here, so should be here under the hello section. So we're going to have an ID of home. Okay, so let's collapse that. So we have the about, so we can have these with an ID of about. Hide that. Clients is okay, and then we should move to the services ID is services. Then we should have the projects ID projects, and finally we should have the contact, so ID contact. Yeah, and that's our portfolio from the hello section. In fact, from the nav, let me just show the nav here. So like that, so we have the nav, we have the hello section, we have the about, we have the clients, we have the clients, the services, the projects, and the contacts. So if we refresh that, oh sorry, these ones should be yeah, we should have an anchor tag on each and every one of these. So sorry, let me just try to have that real quick. So going to, let me close that. So this one should be within an anchor tag like that, so that now here we say hashtag home, and so here we should have the home. So I'll repeat that to all of these ones. So let me just try to yeah, so now we have them with an anchor tag, and as you can see now, when you point at them, of course there is that pointer that changes to a hand, and so like when I click on clients, it should be taken to the clients services. Oh, not quite. Oh, rather, it's taking some time to do that service. Alright, projects. Okay, project is working. Contact, no. Let me have it in yeah, this one should also be working. I don't know why. Services. Oh, sorry, we have the IDs here. Yeah, service. Yeah, we should not have the IDs here, and that's why it's giving me issues. So I should come and get rid of this. Oops, just lost that. Let me get rid of the IDs like that. Yeah, so it's working fine. I don't know what's wrong with the about there. My services. Now projects will not work. Oh yeah, projects, contact, yeah, services. About has an issue. Let me see. Oh yeah, these colon should be closed. Yeah, so that's working fine. So services, projects taking some time, I think, because of the images. Yeah, projects, then contact, and then home, then clients, then about all of them are working as would expect. And so that's the whole portfolio. So now in the next episode we'll now be adding the PHP side of it, so that now we can be able to make the whole of this beautiful website dynamic. So without so much ado, let me see the next one. Thanks for watching.